Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the CapeBreton Rant Live program coming to you tonight from Sydney, Nova Scotia. We're pleased that you could be with us on this Sunday, February the 21st. Well, just as an information guide to you off the top of the program, and we'll touch on this perhaps at the end as well, just wanted to let our viewers know that this is the final program of CapeBreton Rant Live until late in the summer or early fall. We have some organizational work to do, some financial things to work out, and we'll be back with a stronger format and more ways for you to get on the program, more ways for us to advertise and market our program to the general public. So just a reminder that this is a good opportunity for you tonight, if you're listening and watching, to call the program at 270-5331, and we'd love to have you on talking about whatever issues are important to you. We're going to be talking about the election here in the municipality of CapeBreton Regional very shortly with a young lady who is putting forth her name in one of the districts, specifically here in Whitney Pier. And we're going to be talking to her, as I said, in a few moments. So watch for that. In the meantime, just wanted to mention that there are many issues out there you could call and talk to us about, not the least of which is the pharmacare program. You probably noticed in the past week that the Liberal government under Stephen McNeil backed down on their plan to substantially increase the premiums and the fees for seniors in order to continue to qualify for pharmacare benefits. Just goes to show you the power of positive thinking and the power of the people, as they say, when there's an issue that affects them financially and their lifestyle as well. And certainly the Liberals saw fit to back off on their program or their plan to increase the fees, realizing, of course, it could come back to bite them big time in the election, be it later this year or early next year, because that's the kind of issue that affects the seniors, who happen to be a very strong voting bloc out there across the province, and one incurs their wrath at the government's peril. So that was an interesting thing that took place in Halifax during the past week, and we'll have to watch what else happens with the Liberal government as we make our way through 2016 and get ready for 2017, when I think the next election is going to be held. The fluoride in the local water, we, as you know, have been in the vanguard of that movement for the past number of months, and have allowed people who are part of the very vocal and well-organized group who don't want fluoride in the local water supply to get a voice on regional council, or at least get an airing, an opportunity to go in and sit down with council and to voice their grievances about fluoride in the local water supply, as it is here in CBRM, not in Lewisburg, of course, but everywhere else. And that hasn't happened yet, we understand, and I'm not sure either whether any local councillors have responded to the emails they received from the group. If they have, perhaps the people involved with the issue could give us a call at 270-5331 and let us know about that. I want to mention as well that Screaming Eagles are doing quite well lately, just to mention something from the sports desk, and they've been very successful on their road trips recently, and that's going to bode well for the first round of the playoffs, we hope, and should certainly provide quite a boost in attendance and maybe get them past the first round of the playoffs into the second and beyond that. So best of luck to the Screaming Eagles. We're really pleased with their progress, from the coaching staff, administrative staff, down to the players. They're doing an excellent job this year thus far, and we wish them well in the days ahead. Okay, we're going to put a call through in a few moments to a young lady who is going to put forward her name. We'll introduce her to you very shortly and let you know that she's going to be available to run in a particular district. Before we do that, something I'm going to mention to you a little later on. I'm just going to show you a book here talking about politics, one here called Mayor Rob Ford, Uncontrollable, written by Mark Tohey, who was his chief advisor there for a year or two into his mayoralty. And it's a fascinating book with the behind-the-scenes material about how Rob Ford got elected and why he practically disintegrated in his first year in office. So the book is available in the local library, and I'm sure also in the local bookstores. Great book, very interesting, intriguing to read. All the background information that the general public's not aware of. I highly recommend it to you, and I hope that you'll take the time to pick up a copy, either at the library or your local bookstore. All right, that's one book, and we're going to feature a couple of others very shortly as well. We have a call coming in now, and we'll take that call.
Hello?
Hello, Tara.
Yes.
How are you?
I'm good.
Good. Thanks for calling. You're on our program. We're really pleased to have you. And Tara, I just wanted to let our viewers know that you and I go back a long way. You're a journalist. You spent many years with the Chronicle Herald and know the area very well, but you've decided to dip your toe into the municipal politics in the next election, and I give you much credit for that. Can you tell us what made you decide to offer your name?
Well, I guess I'm just tired of being an armchair quarterback. You know,
Good for you.
I've been on the sidelines. I've been there, like you said, Murray, from get-go when it came to the formation of CBRM back in the early years in the mid-'90s, with you there around the table with Cody's government and mapping out the future for CBRM. And, you know, over the years, you know, attending every council meeting quite literally as a municipal beat reporter. You know, I've seen every bylaw, every policy, every budget documents, how the inner workings of council, the politics that play in and outside of the doors, and you know, and I've interviewed so many people. You know, why didn't you offer? Or you know, and you know, I just sort of sat down, you know, with close friends and colleagues in recent months, and said, you know, what about me? Do you think people would accept my, you know, help? Because you know, I think that, you know, maybe I could make a difference to be an effective voice to help lead the CBRM into a better future.
Well, Tara, you're young, you're very bright, articulate, knowledgeable about council. You've been there from day one, as you say, when the plans were mapped out for the regional municipality. And I like the phrase you used, knowing what happens inside and outside the doors, because the general public's not aware of that, or at least a portion of it. And I think you'd have a great deal to offer. What district are we talking about here, Tara?
Well, it will be in District 12, which is the Whittier and surrounding areas. I've done some, you know, a little bit of research on it so far. About 7,700 people live in the district. And what worries me, I guess, most of all, is that people won't get out to vote, or that they don't want to vote, or that they're so apathetic that they just have given up.
Right. They think that their vote's not going to count because the same results will happen as happened during the last 4 or 5 terms. But maybe it's time for a change in that district, and you have an opportunity now in the months ahead to get out and to speak to people and knock on doors. Absolutely.
I've had a little bit of a health setback, so I'm recuperating from an operation, and but my plan is, you know, come March, I'm going to start, you know, knocking on doors. I find it interesting, you know, that slowly the word is getting out in the Pier and in the surrounding areas, and you know, people have, you know, emailed me and called me and offering to be part of the team. You know, because I think there really needs to be a team approach. You know, like it seems that council has lost its you know,
its way.
It's you know, they're holding out, you know, hopes on, you know, a mega project such as a port development, you know, as our savior. And you know, maybe the direction that the council is taking is not right.
Well, Tara, I hope that you'll certainly get out there and meet people and let them know that you're going to be available. And I think it's very important that we have a voice that is not going to back down. If you are successful, I hope that you maintain the rebel part, the portion of Tara Camus that I know, and the gal who has so much to offer, because that's exactly what council needs. And I've been trying to persuade people for the last number of programs, Tara, to think about offering their names. Don't be satisfied necessarily with what you have. Maybe some of the local councillors are doing well, but maybe it's time that everybody had a chance to have some competition even from the mayoralty chair right down, and have a choice. And I think having a choice is extremely important.
Yep, absolutely. I think that's fundamentally the issue is that a lot of people are very fearful of, public humiliation, and but there's no humiliation in running and potentially losing. I know very well Jim McLeod is going to be hard to beat. I'm not going to take for granted that this is going to be easy for me.
Right.
I really think that, I have to pound on many, many doors. I have to have a good team, or
You do.
And count on advice from other counselors who've been there, such as yourself. I mean, you more than anybody knows how hard it is to run a campaign, I would imagine.
Oh, absolutely. And Tara, one other thing that I would suggest to you, and I know that you have this overview of the entire regional municipality, not just a parochial one that deals with your district. And I'm sure that when you sit on council, if you're successful, that you'll be able to have an overview of the entire municipality, because after all, it's called a regional municipality, and every councillor should be aware of what's going on throughout it.
Absolutely. I mean, as you know, the council, many of the councillors, are very parochial in their decision making, and very small-minded, looking only at their own district. And we really have to have a holistic approach here. We have to think about what is good for CBRM, and not, think so closely to our neighborhood, in a sense.
Exactly.
Tara,
how do you
I have to work for the interests of North Sydney just as I have to do for Glace Bay, for the Pier, for Lewisburg.
I think if you can pull together a team and get them started relatively early, Tara, and work through the summer, of course, as you get towards September and October, and as we mentioned before, knock on as many doors as you can, and try to find a way to raise some money for advertising, because that's important as well. I think if you do all that, you have a very good opportunity here to make a difference. Well,
I think I have a reputation being a very honest person, and I think I have a reputation as being fearless and to stand up for what is right.
Right.
No matter what. Like, there was many stories that I did even concerning council, and felt at times I was a lone wolf in breaking news in the area. And, but I worked hard, because, it is about, our region, doing better.
Tara, are there issues that you're particularly concerned about? Are there two or three or four that are paramount for you?
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, obviously on the minds of many, and this is the, Mayor Clark's platform has been fundamentally based on having the Chinese Communications Construction Company, the port development project, as the be all and be end of CBRM success in the future. And my question is, where are they? When Mayor Clark announced that, they had an MOU that they were going to have the Chinese delegate in on the New Year, they're not here yet.
That's right.
There's no news on that front. There's just so many loose ends that, it's not just about them. The interesting thing is he flashed. I attended the news conference, and he flashed the headlines from the Chinese papers, the Daily over there, about this agreement, and there was no mention of $1 billion project port development with the Chinese. There was no mention of this company. It talked in using the old Google translator. Talked about, future exchanges and cooperation in fields of port, culture, education, fisheries, common prosperity, development, economic trade, education, tourism, agriculture, but nothing about, even they mentioned sports.
Right.
But our media has spread ink on this like it's, the best thing since sliced bread.
Well, one thing I lamented during our last program, Tara, was the fact that we no longer appear to have a municipal reporter. I think you can remember your colleague, Chris Hayes, who did such an excellent job for the Post, and you did such a tremendous job for the Herald, keeping people informed. And now, of course, other than this program, there's no radio program that allows people to call in. And sometimes I wonder whether politicians are pleased about that because they're no longer accountable to the public. And I think that's important that you get out there and present what you have to offer.
Well, I really think you're hitting the nail on the head there, Murray. There is no watchdog, really. Besides yourself, besides a couple of key parties. The journalism. We used to cover journal. There was a pool of us. It was myself for the Herald, Russ White for radio and TV. Wendy Martin. There was a few key people that were covering council. Hal Higgins, all the time we were there.
That's
right.
But
now you have maybe one reporter, or and very weak reporting. Because everybody's so fearful of losing their jobs in the reporting business, and nobody, there's certainly the journalism, and I think the council has taken full advantage of that.
Yeah, you're certainly right about that. Tara, we are on CapeBreton LiveRantRoom.tv. In case you have a computer at home, I know you do, and you want to tune in just in case people call in. We have a gal calling in from Calgary in just a moment. I don't know whether it's about what you're talking about here, but if you want to tune in and just to see whether people respond. But I am really pleased that you're offering your name for candidacy, and you have so much to offer, as I said before, and I trust you'll have a very strong campaign. And we need another woman's voice on council, but particularly yours. And I want you to know that I wish you well.
Thank you, Murray. I really appreciate it.
Okay, we'll be chatting with you between now and election. Again, Tara, we'll have you on and we'll see how things are going.
Sounds good.
Okay, thanks, Tara.
All right, thank you, Murray. Thanks for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.
That's Tara Camus, who's running in the Whitney Pier and area district in the fall election versus the incumbent Jim McLeod, who's been there for several terms. And we certainly wish her well, as we do all the councillors. Anyone who puts his or her name on the ballot, we wish them well and we congratulate them, incumbent or newcomer, doesn't matter. But the fact that there are people like Tara who are willing to put their names out there and work hard, get together a team, we're really pleased about that. We have a caller coming in from Calgary, and we're glad to hear them. Hello, Sonia.
Yes, sir. How are you?
I'm great. And yourself?
I'm fine.
You're calling from Calgary, are you?
I'm calling in from beautiful Calgary, Alberta. And,
fantastic.
I'm a former CapeBretner, sir. And I just want to say I love your show and look forward to hearing from you in September.
Well, that's great. We're really, really pleased to hear that. We've had some calls from as far away as Ontario. The first one we've had from Calgary, I believe. But does it appear, Sonia, that we're going to see a break in the months ahead on this oil situation?
No, sir. I think everybody's sitting on their hands. And I think there's just too much political rallying around the environmental cause and not the concern for the oil construction workers. And as a former CapeBretner who would love to be home with family.
Yes.
I don't see the work that could sustain even to support my family. But I have a great ally there. Her name is Tara Camus. And
yeah, she sure is.
I have heard about Tara and her public stance with the municipality. And I've got a good question for her and her energy to bring forward into the campaign.
Well, you know what? We can pass. Does she know you, Sonia?
Yes.
Well, that's good, because we could pass on your telephone number to her to get in touch with her, because I'm sure you'd have some advice for her, or information she could use.
Yes, sir.
Don't you find it a little distressing, Sonia, that some of the mayors in Montreal and some other do-gooders who can't see beyond their own little area and don't look at the entire picture, the bigger picture of what this East Coast pipeline would bring to the country?
Absolutely, sir. I think the environment is just another taxation on the people, and CapeBreton has a fortified people, that has suffered through the loss of fisheries and mining and the steel workers. And
Absolutely.
I think if we get a powerhouse and a voice for her people, I think
Right.
we would have a voice and able to get into this infrastructure money that Mr. Trudeau wants to hand out. The equalization payments, I've been in Alberta for about 8 years now. And Alberta, when it's boom or bust, it is boom or bust. I heard nothing but a sea of Easterners wanting to go home because that's where the work is working out to be for people's futures for at least a year or 2 years of projects. And this delay with the oil pipeline is hurting and damaging people. People are losing their homes here in Alberta, and former oil workers are actually heading into the retail sector and logistics. There's no mines to open as well because everybody is, I guess, heated up with the environment issues and the political table and rallying for our own Premier Notley to stand up and say that she is sending $4 billion for the emissions, and this Paris talks has left dread here in Alberta. It doesn't matter what level, sir. It doesn't matter what level of income you have. $12 an hour or $15 an hour doesn't support a $500,000 mortgage.
No, that's for sure.
And
Don't you
go ahead.
Go
sir.
ahead.
You
Do you find it? Do you find it a little disconcerting that our Liberal government under Mr. Trudeau are thinking about bailing out Bombardier after the millions or billions they've already received, and yet the situation in Calgary is much more dire and involving far more people and has a greater effect on the overall Canadian economy, Sonia?
Absolutely, sir. I totally agree with you there. Being a former CapeBretoner and watching the money go out hand over fist for businesses and not support the people and our energy is the same thing that I'm witnessing here in Alberta. The energy is in the ground, the gold is in the ground, the people are here, the tradesmen are here. And when business turns around and says, "Well, we're going to take the money to Montreal or take the money to BC," and there's over 100,000 jobs lost here in Alberta. It's the same suffering that the people in Cape Breton had when their fisheries closed and the mining closed. And I know Miss Camus says phenomenal working for the people there and the voice in the Chronicle Herald.
Oh, she was excellent.
Yes, and I think my question to her is what kind of energy she can bring in to rally Trudeau to get to Cape Breton and get that infrastructure money going, to get that container port open, to fix her roads, to give the energy back and the money back to Cape Bretoners.
Well, that's a very good point. You've enumerated specific issues there. Do you know some people personally, Sonia, who have been affected by the downturn?
Yes, sir. I'm actually working at a Walmart warehouse, logistics-wise, and the hiring hasn't been from people that are like high school or college degrees. We've got engineers that are coming into the warehouse looking for retail management now. So their salaries are cut from between $180,000 to $200,000, and they're looking at $35,000 because it is something that is predictable. It is something that they can count on, and something that is confirming that they will not lose their mortgages of their $600,000 or $700,000 homes here.
I certainly hope that the NDP government is going to go in the right direction there. I'm a little fearful, I have to tell you, Sonia, whether this is going to be a one-term government for Miss Notley, but you're closer to the situation. What are you hearing on that?
Well, sir, I'm dealing with about 300 workers myself, and I've just come out of a huge warehouse where they've cut back. They're closing warehouses where they say the retail logistics are here. I'm talking to well over 4,000 people that I know within a group. It's a Facebook group called The Patch, and I deal directly with recruiters, and I deal with owner and operators of piping and drill rigging companies to construction and road construction crews. And, sir, it's pretty well dried up. The rigs have dried up. The weather didn't cooperate. There was no ice roads over the duration of the winter. And these people are actually on hold for unemployment claims. Now, these people are not just like Cape Bretoners that come on and fly in and fly out. Of the 18,000 that make the trek from the eastern Canada out west, they're dying to go home, sir. They're dying to go home. And it's, well, what do we go home to? And
that's the point.
That's the point, sir. I mean, you've got great opportunities for Irving Shipbuilding. You've got, we're looking for, the railways that my grandfather was in the steel making business and putting rails down in Cape Breton. They're all pulled up now. So how are you guys coping with that kind of transport? And I know you've opened up your coal mine down there, which is great news for people down there.
Mm-hmm.
But where's the work?
The rail situation is certainly one that's we're very fearful about, Sonia, because the Texas company that owns it has applied to the provincial government to pull out in the spring. There's local group that got together to try to persuade the government to find a way to take it over or provide subsidies to improve the road bed, because if there are still companies here that use the rail to get their product out. When the mine opens down here, the Donkin mine, one of the ways they have of looking at transporting their product is either barging it or through a truck or rail. Right. And you can't have a rail system unless you have the rail beds in good condition. That's and right, you have a company that's dedicated to it. So I'm hoping things are going to improve out there. I mean, after all, Cape Bretoners have had a real impact in Calgary, Sonia.
Absolutely, sir. I met more Easterners out here in the last almost 8 years now that have been thriving and paying off their homes and being regularly available to bring the money home to Cape Breton and spend time with their families. But now I think it's a real turnaround for Cape Bretoners to bring that energy back into Cape Breton. I know the person that has a voice for Cape Bretoners has been Tara Camus.
Absolutely.
And I'd love to see her. I'd love to see her go into the council room and she doesn't have to pick apart our council or pick apart our municipality. All our Cape Bretoners and the Tim Hortons can do that. But what I'm looking at is what energy she can bring back to entice Ottawa to bring that money that they brought out $700 million here to Alberta, and it was a joke.
Really?
Because yes, sir, the $700 million. I mean, they've got $1 billion projects here for the Green Line LRT system that they want to start up. They want to put in billions of dollars. I mean, subdivisions are going up faster here, sir, than they fixed the Sydney River Bridge.
Wow.
But now they're talking about carpenters' wages from $25-28 an hour down to $13 an hour because people need to work.
Right. And, well, Sonia, I just want to mention to you in closing that if Tara could be elected, someone like her and others like her who may offer their names, if they could get in there and really plug away at this port development and make it become a reality, or help to be part of the voice, the overall group that wanted to become a reality, what an opportunity for people to come home, right, to actual jobs. You can't come home to nothing. You have to have something that you're going to come home to.
Yes, sir. I think that's the sad part about the money that was made here in Alberta and brought to Cape Breton, that the full share wasn't brought to Cape Breton because, of course, the people in New Brunswick and Newfoundland and Nova Scotia had come out here and they had to spend their money for living expenses. What a turnaround for Cape Breton's economy if all that money that they made was to be spent and to sit in Cape Breton and make it thrive.
Well, that's right. Well, look, Sonia, I'm extremely appreciative of your call. Really glad that you tune into our program and that you'll take a look late in the summer, early fall when we come back on the air. We'll be doing some other work on Facebook and on the internet during the summer. You can check it from time to time.
I will do that, sir. Yeah, I'm a big cheerleader for Cape Breton and also for Tara Camus. And, sir, I look forward to keeping an eye out on your show because you're the voice of Cape Breton.
Well, thank you, Sonia. Great to hear from you, and best of luck, and we hope that things continue to improve out there.
We're looking forward to it too, sir.
Okay, Sonia. Bye-bye now.
Thank you for your time, sir.
Oh, you're very welcome. Great to hear from Sonia from Calgary. My goodness, great to know that we're getting people sitting down at their computers beyond Cape Breton, beyond the Causeway. And she certainly made some very salient points about the economy, both here and out west as well. And we hope that it'll spark some conversation here. And certainly her comments about Tara Camus and her candidacy for the Cape Breton Regional Council, her comments were very encouraging for Tara. And I trust that she heard them and will take them and use them in a positive way as her campaign gets underway for the election, which will take place in October. So thank you, Sonia, for taking the time to call. That was great, Wayne. It was really good to hear from her. Okay, I just want to remind everybody that we're not going right through to 8 o'clock tonight because of some things that we have to look after, but I do want to encourage you to call. 270-5331 is the number. We'd love to hear from you if you want to respond to what Sonia and Tara had to say. This is an excellent opportunity for you. And while we're waiting for a call, I just want to mention a couple of other books to you that you might want to pick up and read. There's some wonderful books at the Cape Breton Regional Library here in Sydney. Here's one called I'll See You Again. Not a very pleasant story here, but the overall premise and the future, or rather the outcome, the result of what happened here is the one that's positive. And it's a story of three young ladies, very young, between the ages of 3 and 10 years old, who were killed out west in a car accident that took their lives and the lives of 5 others as well when they were in a car driven by their aunt, who happened to drive down the wrong way on a highway and collided with another car head on, and 8 lives were taken. It's a tragic story, but also one of hope and family and love, being able to triumph over adversity. It's called I'll See You Again by Jackie Hance, Hance. I recommend it to you. Terrific book. And here's the final one. Just want to mention it to you as well. I think you'll remember back in 2009, I believe, 2008, maybe it was a little earlier or a little later, the captain who took down the flight on the Hudson River in New York City. And everybody survived that particular flight that went awry. It had some difficulty. This is called Sullenberger, and it's a story of that particular flight and his life as a captain with American Airways, and what happened on that flight and how he was able to bring it down on the river and have everybody survive. So I recommend it to you. Take a look at it in the local library or in the local bookstore. I think you'll find it to be extremely, extremely interesting as well. A true story, every one of these, and the one I mentioned to you before about Mayor Rob Ford, even though many people felt that he was a fool, he was quite a bright guy, very knowledgeable, a good politician prior to becoming a mayor. Unfortunately, alcohol and the use of drugs and some other issues brought about his downfall. And but the story behind the scenes of what happened there, his people, the people who worked with him, those people who lost their jobs, and the real story about his demise as the mayor of Toronto, absolutely fascinating. And I really recommend it to you. So take the time to go to your local library. Cape Breton Regional Library is an excellent one. Hopefully they're getting a new building in the near future. And I think we have a call coming in according to our producer. So there's another one coming in right now.
Hello.
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 How are you?
Marlene.
Marlene? Hello, Marlene, are you there? I think we lost her, Wayne.
She must have hung up.
Okay.
We'll call her back.
We'll call her back anyway. We have a call coming in. Marlene is calling in, and something must have happened to her end. We'll call her right back and get her on the line as well. Anyway, it was really marvelous to hear from Sonia from Calgary with her knowledge and background and her support of Tara Camus in the Whitney Pier District in the upcoming election in October. But certainly her outline about how things are happening economically in Alberta. Hello, Marlene.
Yes.
How are you? Are you there?
No, she must have a bad line because it's going through. And
Okay. Well, I can hear her saying hello, but she can't seem to. Must have a bad line there somewhere.
bad connection.
Do you want to? Maybe we'll ask her, Marlene, if you're watching. Maybe you could try again to call, and we'll try to get back to you. Every time we hear your voice saying hello, and then for some reason, technically, we're losing you. So don't give up. Persevere. Call us back, and Wayne will get in touch with you once again, so we can have an opportunity to speak with you and find out what's happening on the use of fluoride in our water supply here in the Cape Breton Regional Municipality.
Okay, we'll try one more time.
All right, we're going to give it a try one more time, see what happens. Want to mention as well, before we do that, getting back to a point we made earlier, there's the telephone call. Marlene,
Yes. Hello.
how are you tonight?
Good. Thanks. How are you?
Not too bad.
Good.
What's happening, Marlene?
first of all, I wanted to call and say I'm really sorry to hear that you're going to be off the air.
Well, it's unfortunate, but it's just that economically there are some things that we have to do to improve the program, but we'll be back, and I want to assure you that, but we just have to take a brief hiatus, a brief break from it, and we'll let you know when we're going to be back.
Okay, so you plan on being back in September, is that?
Or sooner.
Or sooner.
Yes.
Well, I certainly hope so. Listen, I won't keep you for long.
No, I'm glad to hear from you. Go ahead.
Excuse me. I just wanted to talk to you just for a minute about a study that was released just a couple of days ago in Calgary about water fluoridation.
Yes, right.
And the authors seem to be indicating that the rate of dental decay had increased in Calgary, particularly Calgary, since they stopped fluoridating the drinking water supplies. But they've they've also increased, the dental decay rates have also increased in Edmonton. They were comparing the two cities, and Edmonton is still fluoridated.
Okay.
So
Has Calgary stopped its fluoridation, or?
Calgary ended water fluoridation in 2011.
Okay.
And this study looks at data that was collected in 2003, 4, and 2004, and compared it to data they looked at in 2013.
Right.
And it showed an increase in dental decay in both cities. And what their study shows that there is a greater increase in dental decay in children. In Calgary, where they ended water fluoridation, and of course they're pointing the finger to the fact that they've ended water fluoridation, and that's the reason. But this study, it has a lot of shortcomings to this study, and the Fluoride Action Network, which you've spoken about before,
yes,
they're going to be releasing a critique that they're doing on this study. And if I could just read 2 sentences from what they posted on their website.
Yeah, go ahead.
It says, with all of the media about the new, seriously flawed study on the effects of ending fluoridation in Calgary, we wanted to let you know that we will be providing a full response and critique early next week, which is this week coming up. In the meantime, we wanted to point out that the study's own data shows that children in non-fluoridated Calgary still have better teeth than those in fluoridated Edmonton. That the researchers' interpretation failed to point out that most of the increase in decay occurred prior to Calgary ending fluoridation. Because they do have another set of data in 2009 and 10, which they don't talk about in that study, but which will be spoken about by other scientists who are reviewing this study.
Marlene, have you received any confirmation yet from the regional council? Anybody respond to the emails?
Well, I think Debbie might be able to speak to that because I think she heard from Eldon. But if I could just finish,
go ahead.
One thing about that study that's important is that media jumped all over it and said, twice as many cavities in Calgary, which there's nowhere in the study that shows that, for one thing. But the other thing is we're told by the Canadian Dental Association and all the promoters of water fluoridation that the whole idea of fluoridating our drinking water is to reduce dental decay in the population.
Right.
Well, that's clearly not happening according to this study, because where fluoridation continues in Edmonton, the rates of dental decay in children have continued to go up. Obviously, water fluoridation is not effective. It's not doing what we're told it does. And there are other factors involved that must be addressed, instead of them trying to put some Band-Aid on this problem with water fluoridation, which is clearly not effective. If it was, we would not see an increase in dental decay in children's teeth in Edmonton where they continue to fluoridate. So I just wanted to let people know that there is definitely going to be a response to this paper that was put out, and it certainly will address all the issues.
Can you tell us where people can check that information, a website perhaps?
Yeah, it's called Fluoride Action Network.
Okay.
And it's just the most comprehensive website you can go to about fluoridation and fluoride-related issues. They actually have, Health Canada, if you go through their review, they did a review in 2011. If you go to their review, they cite about 450 studies, but they've only got the titles of the studies. You can't actually access those unless you start digging around. But on the Fluoride Action Network, they actually provide links to the actual studies. So in the most case, you can just click on the links to studies relating to any bodily system, like the thyroid gland, the endocrine system, cardiovascular, all kinds of bodily systems. You can click on and see the studies that have been done in relation to dental fluorosis or skeletal fluorosis, arthritis, all those connected disorders.
Marlene, the information you provided about Edmonton and Calgary is certainly ammunition for you and your group, I would think.
Well, again, as far as I can see, without actually getting into the details of the study and the problems with the way the data has been presented, what's glaringly obvious to me is that water fluoridation is not doing what we've been promised. For decades, we've been, this community's been fluoridated for 50 years, yet the rate of dental decay in our community and other communities is still very high. So we're obviously missing the boat here. It's not swallowing fluoridation chemicals from an industrial hazardous waste. That's the source of our chemical I don't know how anyone could think that we could actually benefit from doing that to any part of our body, never mind our teeth.
I think the day is coming, Marlene, when you're going to reap the results of the work and the effort and the frustration as well that you've encountered. I really believe that.
Well, yeah, it's certainly been frustrating, but just so that people know as well, right now, Canada as a whole, we're down to only about 30% of the population that receives fluoridated drinking water. And so I think in the last 6 years, about 40 communities have voted to stop fluoridating their drinking water supplies. And I just actually checked the data for New Brunswick not that long ago, and they are now down to a population of 750,000 in the province. They're now down to only fluoridating one community, Oromocto, which has a population of about 9,000. The rest of it, all the major cities have either didn't fluoridate or have stopped fluoridating. Moncton and St. John were the two who actually voted to end water fluoridation. And the mayor actually, I think it's Moncton, he voted, it was a tie on council. It was a 3 to stop, 3 to continue. He broke the tie and voted he wanted to stop it because he said it's not a municipal responsibility.
Well, that's interesting.
Well, and he's absolutely right. It's not a municipal responsibility. It's not it's not required.
No, it's not at all. And it's not mandated by the Department of Health either.
No.
Marlene, look, I want to thank you on behalf of our viewers and listeners to bringing us up to date and keeping us informed about what's happening there. And you and the group deserve a great deal of credit. And we're pleased that we were able to bring it to people's attention as well through our program. And we'll stay in touch with you and keep in touch with me as well during the summer. And we'll let you know when we're back on the air.
Great. That sounds terrific. Thanks a lot, Marie. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, Marlene. Thank you for calling.
All right. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye. Okay, that's Marlene Kane calling about the fluoride in the water supply. What's the actual time right now, Wayne?
It's going on 7:42.
7:42. All right, we just have a few minutes left in our program. Rather than going right through to 8 o'clock tonight, we have to stop a little early, but there's still time if you wish to call. 270-5331, whatever the issue is that you want to discuss. And we hope that you've enjoyed the conversation thus far tonight on the topics that have been on the table. And as we said before, we're going to be taking a break. There will be a hiatus between now and when we come back on the air. That's our producer's plan, and we want to give him credit for all that he's done during the past year as well. Tremendous amount of time, effort, and money that's required to put a program like this on the air, and it also needs your participation. That's extremely important if we're going to continue. But there are some things that we have to look after from a format and financial point of view that will take us off the air for a while. But we will be back, and we're looking forward to that. So keep in touch with us. You can let us know by calling or speaking to us personally through the week or the months ahead that you feel the program is worthwhile and that we need it in our community. We certainly feel that. There's no other voice here. Radio doesn't do it any longer, and that's most unfortunate. As a matter of fact, it's almost criminal. Anyway, that's the situation with regard to our program, and we want to thank our producer Wayne for all his work, and we thank our people for watching as well. 270-5331 is the number to call if you want to call in the next minute or two. We'd love to hear from you, and we're pleased to be able to put those issues out there for your consideration and for your discussion at the coffee table or at the coffee shop or around the kitchen table or on the corner, at the water cooler, wherever, in the office. And it's important for you to have a voice and important for these issues to be debated in public. So you feel that when elections come up in October, that they're going to be important to your elected representatives as well, and those people who are vying for election, like Tara Camus in Whitney Pier, and we wish her well. All right, Murray Johnson here, signing off for this particular time. Thank you for being with us during the last number of months on Cape Breton Rant Live. You can continue to check our website during the months ahead. We'll be taking a brief break, and we hope we'll be back a little later in the year. We'll certainly campaign advertising-wise to let you know when that will be, and we hope that you'll join us as well when we decide when we're going to come back on the air. So thanks for watching. Have a good summer ahead. We wish you well. Take an interest in your election coming up here in the municipality and get involved. So long.